Welcome back to SkyDome in Canada. It's time now to turn the microphone over to the men who will document tonight's historic Game 3. Sean McDonough and a man who played some minor league ball here in Toronto, outdoors, of course, Tim McCarver. Gentlemen, your game.
Thank you, Pat. And of course, it was outdoors because Tim McCarver played here as a visiting minor leaguer a very, very long time ago. We're all happy to be indoors tonight as it's chilly in downtown Toronto, the temperature hovering around the freezing mark. And as the scene shifts to the American League home ballpark for the first time in this series, the DH will be employed, and that means decision time for Bobby Cox.
And one of the decisions that Bobby has made, he's going to leave Deion Sanders in the lineup, and he will bat second. He had a very productive Game 2 on base 3 times. The designated hitter this evening will be Lonnie Smith. This is his 5th postseason, as a matter of fact, his 5th World Series, and he not only adds power to the Braves lineup, but also good speed.
And Ron Gant, the odd man out again tonight for Atlanta, while Toronto uses its regular lineup that posted the best home record in all of baseball during the regular season. These two teams split the first 2 games of this series in Atlanta. The long ball was the story, and neither team got much from the top of the order.
No production from their numbers 1 and 2 hitters. As a matter of fact, the Blue Jays, Devon White, Roberto Alomar, 2 for 17. On the other side of the ledger, Otis Nixon, Jeff Blauser / Deion Sanders, only 2 for 15. I'll tell you, the complexion of this series could change from the long ball to the running game if these guys get on.
And the pressure could be squarely on the catchers, particularly Pat Borders of Toronto. In 8 postseason games, the Blue Jays have allowed 23 stolen bases.
He is having 2 problems. One, he can't control. You may remember in Game 2, the pitch that he has to handle, a very difficult pitching staff to catch for Borders, and he throws this ball into center field. Something that he does have something to do about is the transfer from the glove to the hand. He has been very, very slow to make it, and his balls have been tailing into the runner, as this one does in Game 1, allowing Otis Nixon to score. Can you imagine, after 170 games, Pat Borders was out last night during the off day working on his throwing.
And neither starting pitcher tonight adept at holding runners on. Juan Guzman for Toronto, Steve Avery for Atlanta. And here's a key member of our lineup, Jim Kaat.
Thanks, Sean. Watch very closely in the early innings Juan Guzman. If he has some routine 1, 2, 3 innings, look out. But if Braves get some base runners on, he tends to be distracted, and he'll begin to pay more attention to his mechanics, his motion, instead of focusing in on Pat Borders' glove. Sean?
Thank you, Jim. The starting lineup tonight for the Atlanta Braves: Otis Nixon in center field, Deion Sanders in left field, Terry Pendleton batting third at third base, the cleanup hitter David Justice, Lonnie Smith the DH, Sid Bream at first base, Jeff Blauser the shortstop, Damon Berryhill the catcher, and Mark Lemke the second baseman bats ninth. Juan Guzman ready to throw the first World Series pitch ever outside the United States. First pitch of Game 3 lifted to center field. Nixon's fly ball handled by Devon White. 1 pitch and 1 out in Canada.
The defense for the Toronto Blue Jays, Candy Maldonado will be the left fielder. Here's Candy, Devon White in center field. Joe Carter, his 3rd different position in 3 games. Kelly Gruber at third base, Manuel Lee at short, Roberto Alomar at second, John Olerud at first base, and Pat Borders behind the plate.
And Deion Sanders at the plate. Deion started Game 2 and went 1 for 3. He swings away at the first pitch and sent it out of play, third base side. Sanders a single and a run scored in Game 2. He also walked twice and stole 2 of the 5 bases swiped by Atlanta.
Those 2 stolen bases by Deion Sanders, the first time a Brave had stolen 2 bases in 1 game since 1914. Of course, they were then the Boston Braves. That's in postseason play, of course.
Now the 0-2 pitch. Little looper into shallow right center on the run. Carter couldn't get it. It's backed up by White, and Deion Sanders limps around first again. He's 2 for 4 in the World Series. Joe West of the National League is the home plate umpire. Dan Morrison at first base. Bob Davidson at second. John Shulock of the American League at third. Jerry Crawford along the left field line, and Mike Riley, who was booed lustily, is the right field line umpire. He was booed upon the introductions of the umpires tonight. Now Terry Pendleton trying to find his mark in the postseason. He hit just .233 in the league championship series against the Pirates and is 1 for 8 in the World Series. Sanders off with the first pitch. Borders. One hopped it, and Sanders is safe. Sanders got a good jump, but for one of the few times in this series, Borders had a pretty good pitch with which to throw him out.
He had a good pitch to handle, and Sanders with an excellent jump going in feet first. The other night, he went in head first twice. There's that pitch right around the chest for Borders to handle, but a one-hopper. And Sanders with his third stolen base of the series.
13 consecutive stolen bases for the Atlanta Braves in the postseason. Pendleton chops it down to first. John Olerud wins the race to the base for the second out. Sanders to third. So that's a new major league record. 13 consecutive stolen bases by one team in the postseason. The Dodgers had 12 consecutive steals against the Mets and the Athletics in 1988. Now David Justice, the cleanup hitter. 1 for 5 in the World Series, but he has walked 3 times.
This is a good move right here. Guzman working from the stretch. By doing that, you alleviate Sanders bothering you. If he works from the windup, Sanders would go up and down the line. And Juan Guzman is subject, like a lot of Blue Jay pitchers, to the wild pitch. He had 14 this year.
Again, the Blue Jays employ the shift in the infield for Justice. The shortstop Lee on the right side.
One of the reasons for the shift, David Justice this year, 78 of his hits were to right field, 17 to center field, and only 22 the other way.
He's ahead in the count, 2-0. That's a strike on the corner, 2-1.
However, of those 22 hits the other way, most of them were in the air. So the charts of the Blue Jays, like the charts of the National League teams, say that David Justice, if he hits the ball in the air, he could go the other way. But if he hits it on the ground, he'll pull it.
Now the 2-1. He was trying to pull that one despite the shift. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Sanders at third with 2 down to the top of the first. This is game 3 of the World Series. The series tied at 1 win apiece. And this crowd, which has been criticized in the past for being too quiet, has been electric from moment 1 tonight. And even more so now. Guzman out of the inning with the strikeout. After half an inning, the Braves nothing, and the Blue Jays coming up.
So last Sunday, the Eagles swagger into RFK Stadium, and the Redskins say, hello, welcome to our nation's capital. Now, the Skins have to visit Minnesota, who've got this great new coach, Dennis Green. This guy's got the Vikings off to their best start in eons. Happiness. Sunday on CBS. I'm a big fan.
No score as the Blue Jays come up in the bottom of the first inning, with Devon White leading off in center field. Roberto Alomar, the second baseman. Joe Carter in right field tonight, hitting third. The cleanup hitter, DH Dave Winfield. John Olerud bats 5th at first base. Candy Maldonado, the left fielder. Kelly Gruber, the third baseman, batting 7th. Hitting 8th, the catcher, Pat Borders. And the shortstop, Manuel Lee, bats 9th.
Steve Avery, during the postseason against the Pirates in the National League Championship Series, allowed 8 runs and 13 hits in 8 innings, striking out only 3. A pretty good performance his first time out, and really shelled his second time out. Game 5 of the NLCS, when the Pirates scored a bunch after 1/3 of an inning. That's all he lasted, his last outing as a starter.
He also appeared in relief in Game 7. Devon White, only 1 for 9 in the World Series. Batting in the bottom of the first and bouncing the first pitch down to third. Pendleton was in front of the bag and throws him out.
The defense for Atlanta, Deion Sanders, the left fielder. Otis Nixon in center field can track them down with the best of them. David Justice, a strong throwing arm in right field. Terry Pendleton at third base. Jeff Blauser, the shortstop. The quick hands of Mark Lemke at second base. And the sure hands of Sid Bream at first. Damon Berryhill behind the plate. And Avery on the mound.
And working too, Roberto Alomar. Ball 1 in the dirt. It skipped by the catcher Berryhill. Roberto just 1 for 8 in the World Series off his MVP performance in the American League Championship Series against Oakland. Check swing and a ball low and away, 2-0. And that's on the corner. The lack of production from White and Alomar to this point in the World Series, a big surprise. The last 2 years in the playoffs, they've combined to hit .400. Berryhill coming back without a play.
Not only great postseason production out of the 1 and 2 slots of Toronto, but Devon White and Roberto Alomar started 140 games this year, and in only 1 did they not, between them, have a hit or a walk.
Off-speed pitch on the corner. Alomar called out on strikes. He had to look at Joe West, the home plate umpire, but didn't say anything. 2 down in the bottom of the first. There is no score.
After fastball, 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 in comes the curveball. The first time that Alomar sees this pitch, and he gives up on it, and clearly it caught the corner.
Two down and the base is empty for Joe Carter. He's 2 for 7. He had a home run in Game 1 off Tom Glavine. And tonight he makes history as one of the 3 players who has started a game in the World Series at 3 different positions. He started 3 games, all 3 of them in a different spot in 1992.
And Tony Kubek and Willie McCovey in 1962 did not start those games consecutively. Joe Carter, the first guy to play 3 different positions consecutively, starting the World Series.
And the 0-2 pitch to him, late swing and a wicked foul ball off the protection area for the photographers.
That was a fastball swing and a curveball look. He's thinking curveball, swinging fastball.
Another 0-2 from Avery. That's low. Berryhill couldn't squeeze that one.
Terry Pendleton way off the line at third base. I think the Braves will probably stay away from Carter.
They do.
They came inside the other night. Tommy Glavine. There is no pitch, number 1. There's no pitch you can't throw any hitter. You can throw any hitter anything. But Joe Carter, the probabilities are better on the inside pitch.
Routine fly to center. And Otis Nixon ends the inning. The Blue Jays go in order. After 1 at the SkyDome, there is no score.
Under Siege. Gene Siskel and Ebert declares Under Siege is one of the best times you're going to have at the movies this year. 2 thumbs up. Siskel and Ebert. Steven Seagal. Under Siege. Rated R. Now playing at a theater near you.
Something dirty's going on in Rome, Wisconsin.
We're dealing with a serial bather.
Can the sheriff break the crime ring?
Catch him.
Before there's another bathtub ring? Picket fences Friday.
The Braves left a runner at third in the top of the first. The Blue Jays went in order in the bottom of the first. Juan Guzman getting ready to face Lonnie Smith, Sid Bream, and Jeff Blauser in the second. Guzman a perfect 2-0 in the playoffs. against Oakland, and he was the winning pitcher in the clinching Game 6 here at the SkyDome. He was also on the mound when they wrapped up the American League East on the final Saturday of the regular season here in Toronto against the Tigers. Lonnie Smith appearing in his 5th World Series, and in his 2nd game in this series he appeared in Game 2 as a pinch hitter and drew a walk. He was 2 for 7 in the playoffs against the Pirates. The 1-0 pitch to Smith. Big rip and a miss.
Lonnie Smith is 5th in games played postseason. Reggie Jackson, of course, Yogi Berra and Mickey Mantle on that list played only in World Series games. That's the distinction.
Smith late at the fastball from Guzman. One ball and 2 strikes the count. Guzman struck out 1 in the 1st, and he's even with Smith at 2-2. And that's high. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Really a challenge for the hitters to face Juan Guzman. He has 3 outstanding pitches, a live fastball, an excellent changeup, which Juan thinks is his best pitch, and a very nasty slider. Goes to the fastball, and Smith sends it to the backstop.
What Guzman does, he changes a hitter's eye level. He throws high fastballs, low sliders, and low changeups. When a hitter has his head bobbing up and down, it's very, very difficult to hit. This guy with as good a stuff as there is around.
And he was on course to be the Cy Young Award winner in the American League over the first half of the year. And injury troubles kept him on the bench for a while in the second half of the season. He still finished with a record of 16-5 and an ERA of 2.64. And he strikes out Smith on the breaking ball, low and away. 1 out in the second, 2 strikeouts in the ball game for Juan Guzman.
Smith had fouled off a couple of pitches, and Guzman and Borders decide to go to that slider. And that you can see how devastating that pitch is. It's out of the strike zone, and Smith goes too far.
Now Sid Bream. 1 for 4 in the World Series. He has played a game and a half. Brian Hunter pinch hit for him in inning 5 of Game 2. Guzman starts him with the fastball low. Sid has not struck out in 31 plate appearances in this postseason. 1 ball and 1 strike. And going back to last year's postseason, he now has a streak of 42 consecutive plate appearances without striking out.
Not even close to the record, though, is it?
No, indeed. The record is 105 plate appearances without fanning by Yogi Berra.
Everybody thinks of Yogi being a long ball hitter, and he was that, but he was also a contact hitter.
The 2-1 pitch. Little looper. Manuel Lee drifts in the left. 2 down. The bases are empty. We're in the top of the second in Game 3 of the World Series. No score in the ball game. The series tied at 1 win apiece. And the batter, Jeff Blauser. 1 for 7 in the World Series is Blauser. He now has 3 hits in his last 26 at bats. Slider missed.
You see that unusual number 66 that Guzman has on his back. It's a very, very high number for a pitcher, but not the highest in World Series play. Bill Voisell was from 96, South Carolina, and he wore the name of his town on his shirt, 96. That, as far as we know, is the highest number ever worn in World Series play.
Well, there won't be any controversy about Juan Guzman wearing his jersey upside down to have the highest number in World Series play. Now the 2-1 pitch. On the corner. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Blauser. Cito Gaston, the skipper of the Toronto Blue Jays and a former Atlanta Brave outfielder. The crowd wants to strike out to end the inning. The 2-2 pitch. Fouled off the end of the bat. Guzman went to the number 66 a couple of years ago in winter ball. He had been struggling in the minor league organizations of the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, particularly with his control. Went to play winter ball one year. They gave him the number 66, and he went 11-1. He said, "I'll keep it."
Pick a number. He picked the right one, I'll tell you.
The count is full on Blauser. Blew him away with the high fastball. That ends the inning. Guzman has struck out 3 after an inning and a half. No score.
Baseball, baseball. Catch the fever now. Baseball, baseball.
Let me show you how. Hardball and making that connection.
Eat dirt.
Slide in. Don't change your direction. Smoke 'em, bake 'em.
Dominate by shit intimidation.
Throw heat.
Play the window pastime
of the nation.
Baseball, baseball. Catch the fever now. Baseball, baseball.
Let me show you how.
Check it out. Catch the fever. Everybody can catch the fever.
A message from Major League Baseball.
Sean McDonough with Tim McCarver, Pat O'Brien and Jim Kaat, delighted to have you with us for the first World Series game ever played outside the United States. Game 3 of the 1992 World Series. And Dave Winfield leads off for Toronto. He's 2 for 7 with a single in each of the first 2 games. Steve Avery worked with 1-2-3 first, and he's in with strike 1 to Winfield.
Only 3 singles to his credit. That covers a 1 for 22 stint back in 1981 with the Yankees.
Of course, when Winfield first broke into the major leagues in 1973 with the Padres, Steve Avery was 2 years old.
And Cito Gaston, his manager, was the right fielder on that club.
Two balls and 1 strike on Winfield. Olerud to follow, and then Maldonado. Avery's 22 years old, and the foul ball is off the end of the bat of Winfield. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Steve Avery is from Taylor, Michigan. He was a first-round draft choice of the Braves back in 1988. He elected to sign with them, and he turned down a scholarship to Stanford.
.3-1 with a .313 ERA. Only 1 home run allowed. That was to Kirby Puckett in last year's World Series.
The 3-2 pitch to Winfield. Pendleton couldn't get it. Blauser could, but he has no play. He's out in medium range left field.
Dave Winfield, 41 years old, the oldest player on the field, gets the first hit in Canada for the youngest team in the big leagues, along with the Seattle Mariners.
So he'll always be in the record books as the man with the first hit for Toronto in a World Series home game for the Blue Jays. John Olerud made his first appearance of the series in Game 2 and went 0 for 4. Breaking ball on the outside corner. 0-1 on Olerud. No score. We're in the bottom of the second. Winfield, the first base runner of the night for Toronto, at first with nobody out. Olerud slaps it out of play to the left side. 0-2.
Steve Avery, a guy who likes to keep the ball away from hitters. As a matter of fact, over 1,000 batters have faced Avery in his career. He hasn't hit a one. That's including postseason play. So that gives you an idea that he likes to work hitters away. When he comes inside, it's for effect.
He throws to first. Can't that be detrimental to Steve Avery if the hitters know they're not going to get hit? Wouldn't they be more inclined to dig in up there at the plate?
He hasn't really given hitters a reason to believe that they should dig in against him. I mean, when you're throwing a 93-mile-an-hour fastball, why come inside to anybody?
He came inside and missed off the inside part of the plate. 2-2 on Olerud. The opponents stole 42 bases while Avery was on the mound this year for Atlanta. No pitcher in the National League was on the mound for more stolen bases. Winfield not much of a threat to run. And not running with a 2-2 pitch, the breaking ball got Olerud. That's the first out of the inning and the second strikeout of the night for Steve Avery.
Concentration, breaking ball on the outside to Olerud. Olerud does not strike out a lot, and Avery gets him with Winfield on first. One away.
In the bottom of the second, no score. Candy Maldonado back in the lineup tonight. He started in game 1 and went 0 for 4. He sat out game 2 when Olerud was inserted. And there's a late swing and a foul off to the right. Maldonado had a terrific year, particularly when you consider that his status was a big question mark when the year began. They thought that Derek Bell would be a regular in the outfield coming off his performance of a year ago when he was the minor league player of the year. But Bell was injured the first week of the season, and Maldonado had one of his best years.
Blue Jays general manager Pat Gillick took a chance on 2 free agents, Candy Maldonado and Dave Winfield, and have they ever produced?
The 1-1 pitch. A smash to third. Pendleton gets one at second. Lemke turns the double play. 5-4-3, and that ends the inning. We've played 2 in game 3 of the World Series. There is no score.
Friday.
Where can I find some young creature that would appeal to Roland? Delivery.
Why are the Golden Palace girls playing Cupid?
We were worried you weren't getting any.
Then Major Dad and family are catering up a storm.
Don't tell me you didn't bring them. I put them on top of the car while I was...
Well, that's good. At least neighborhood cat's gonna eat well tonight.
Golden Palace and Major Dad, Friday.
Remember, in our pregame show, we talked about the transfer of Pat Borders, the catcher. Well, second basemen also have to have quick transfers. You notice how quickly the ball went from the glove to the hand of the first baseman for the double play. Mark Lemke, a guy, by the way, and we'll reiterate this point, that Bobby Cox says has the quickest hand since Bill Mazeroski. What an accolade that is.
Among second basemen. Lemke on deck as Damon Berryhill bats. He fouled the first pitch away for strike 1. Berryhill's one hit in the series, a big one, the 3-run homer off Jack Morris that propelled the Braves to their 3-1 victory in game 1. High smoke. Berryhill couldn't get it. 0-2. Guzman has retired 5 in a row, 3 of them via the strikeout. 0-2 pitch, high and away. That's low and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Guzman is from the Dominican Republic. He'll turn 26 years old shortly after the World Series ends. And he strikes out Berryhill. 1 out in the 3rd. Guzman has now retired 6 in a row while striking out 4 of them.
You saw the concentration of Steve Avery, and now you are privy to the concentration of Juan Guzman. An inside fastball that ties Berryhill up. 4th strikeout for Guzman.
And the number 9 hitter, Mark Lemke, at the plate. Ball 1 in the dirt. Bobby Cox, former Toronto skipper, still speaks affectionately of his days here, particularly Old Exhibition Stadium, although he was delighted tonight's game was not being played there. Olerud steps on the bag for the 2nd out. We're in the 3rd. There is no score. And it was nice to hear the hand for Bobby Cox as he was introduced to the sellout crowd here at the SkyDome tonight. These fans well remember his many contributions to the success of the Toronto Blue Jays over the last decade.
And failure leads to success. And back in 1985, Bobby Cox's Blue Jays had a 3-1 lead over Kansas City in an effort to go to the World Series for the first time, but the Royals came back and won 3 in a row. Bobby said he did not leave his apartment for 2 days. He was that disappointed.
Otis Nixon took the first pitch of the night into center field for an out, and that's where he sends that one as well. Devon White the catch. 1, 2, 3 go the Braves, and we'll return to the SkyDome after this word from your local station.
They're fighting drug gangs.
Possession of crack cocaine.
And it's tearing their town apart.
They're setting us up for something.
Carol O'Connor, Howard Rollins in the heat of the night. Premieres after the World Series.
Before Elvis. Before the Beatles. There was Sinatra. And there still is.
And now, ladies and gentlemen,
Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra.
The music was just the beginning.
This is CBS.
Something's happening. People are ready because they've had enough. Enough of seeing their incomes fall behind and their jobs on the line. Enough of a government that just doesn't work. They're ready for change. And changing people's lives, that's the work of his life. 12 years battling the odds in one of our nation's poorest states. Arkansas now leads the nation in job growth. Incomes are rising at twice the national rate. 17,000 people move from welfare to work. That's progress. And that's what we need now. Change. Real solutions. Bill Clinton has an economic plan to rebuild America that invests in our own people. Education, training, 8 million new jobs in the next 4 years. A new direction. Those making over $200,000 have to pay more. The rest of us get a break. It's a plan to put people first again. And 6 Nobel Prize economists say it'll work. But don't take their word. Read it yourself. For people, for a change. Bill Clinton for president.
A man posing as a utility worker rapes an 11-year-old girl. Details after the game.
The pitchers duel through 2.5 innings in Game 3 of the 1992 World Series. Here's Kelly Gruber to face Steve Avery. Breaking ball for strike 1 to Gruber, who is hitless in his last 22 at-bats in postseason play. He ties a single postseason record, and he's about to hold it all by himself as Avery throws him out. Kelly Gruber now 0 for his last 23.
That's, by the way, in one postseason. Marv Owen went 0 for 31 in 1934 and 1935. And that is the record. Things have not been falling for Kelly Gruber, but Cito Gaston saying he needs him for his defense.
Pat Borders has been providing plenty of offense. He had .318 in the playoffs against Oakland, and he's 3 for 6 in the World Series against Atlanta. Line in the left, another hit for Pat Borders. He's now had at least one hit in each of his last 11 postseason games. That's the second hit of the night for the Toronto Blue Jays.
It has been a proud series for the fraternity of catchers. Pat Borders now 4 for 7. Damon Berryhill, a 3-run homer in game 1. Ed Sprague, the game winner the other night, a 2-run shot in the 9th inning. And Borders continues his hot hitting.
Manuel Lee, the batter. Of course, we cannot leave Francisco Cabrera off that list with his heroics, the 2-run single in the bottom of the 9th of game 7 that won the National League Championship Series for Atlanta over Pittsburgh.
Guess you could say it was catching.
You can, but I'm glad you did.
And not you.
That is correct. Big swing and a miss. 1-1 on Lee. Steve Avery candidly admits that he has not been as dominating in this postseason as he was last year, but as he points out, that would be a difficult feat to duplicate. 1 ball and 2 strikes, the count on Lee.
Last year, Avery beat the Pirates 1-0 in game 2 of the NLCS. He beat them 1-0 in game 6 and 2 no decisions in the World Series. But he pitched very, very well.
The 1-2 pitch is low. 2-2 on Lee with the top of the order and Devon White waiting to follow. Lee happy to be back on the turf here at the SkyDome. He's had his difficulties in the postseason on the grass fields in Oakland and Atlanta. He's committed 4 errors in 5 postseason games on grass. But he has not committed a miscue in the field in 3 games on the turf here at the Dome.
This is an interesting situation for Cito Gaston. Do you send the runner? Remember, Manuel Lee strikes out a lot, over 100 times last year, 73 this year.
The runner does go. Lee down to third. Pendleton looked at second and retires Lee at first with the second out of the inning. But now the Blue Jays have their first run of the night in a scoring position with Borders at second and 2 down in the third in a scoreless game.
Yeah, in a scoreless ball game, you don't really take that much of a chance. It's early. You try to open things up a little bit. You stay away from the double play by sending Borders. And now the Blue Jays need a 2-out hit if they are to score.
And they need that hit from Devon White. He's now 1 for 10 in the World Series after having grounded to third his first time up. Avery's first pitch to White is a ball low and away. Just about the same place. This time a strike. 1-1 on the switch hitting Devon White. Berryhill lost the ball out in front of the plate. It was a swing and a miss for strike 2. Devon White, a much better hitter during the regular season, left-handed. He had .262 from the left. He was only a .212 hitter from the right. Most of his power from the left. And of course, most of his at-bats were from the left side as well. No score with 2 outs in the third. And White strikes out. The strikeout gets Avery out of the inning. He has fanned 3. We've played 3 in Toronto. No score.
He may be a Superman, but after 75 fastballs, even Nolan Ryan's muscles can ache.
After the game, it's Advil, and those aches are long gone.
Today, it isn't aspirin or Tylenol acetaminophen. It's Advil. Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
This game summary is sponsored by Budweiser.
With Deion Sanders' stolen base in the first inning, the Braves a perfect 13 for 13 in this postseason. That's a postseason record for consecutive steals, and very similar lines for the two starting pitchers tonight. This game has been controlled by Steve Avery and Juan Guzman through 3 innings. Nothing but zeros along the line as we go to the 4th, and Sanders leads off. Deion, the only Atlanta base runner to this point, again making Bobby Cox look like the smart man that he is. Deion singled into right center field, stole second, and was stranded at third when Justice struck out with 2 outs. Fastball in for a strike. 0-2 on prime time. Late swing and a foul off to the left. That must have been aimed at a 49er fan in the third base box seats.
What's that old song? Don't get around much anymore.
And that's why 96 miles per hour.
That's right. Nobody gets around much anymore on that pitch.
That's in the dirt. 1-2 on Sanders.
And that was the slider that we've been talking about. It's a devastating pitch. And what distinguishes Guzman's slider from most, watch the downward action of it. Most sliders break parallel to the ground, not Guzman's. He gets on top of it, cuts through it, and it has a sinking in sliding effect.
1-2 pitch. Little squibber back to the mound. Guzman bare hands, and the throw is high. Nice play by Olerud. Prevent that one from bouncing around in foul ground. So Sanders is on again, and we'll await the scoring.
Power pitchers like Guzman, when they finish winding up, look at the wind up and the carry over, carry him toward first base. By the time he recovers, he bare hands it and throws high to first base. Olerud, a nice play. I would think it's a base hit, but it's kind of tough for a pitcher with that kind of power to unravel those arms and legs and everything and get back to field the ball like that.
It has been scored a hit for Deion Sanders. So the Braves have 2 hits, and they both belong to Sanders. He stole second after reaching in the first inning. The opponents have now stolen 24 bases against the Blue Jays in this postseason in 8+ games, all of them at the expense of Pat Borders, who has only thrown out 2 base runners. Terry Pendleton at the plate, and he waits as again Sanders draws a throw. Pendleton bounced to first, unassisted, his first time up. He's 1 for 8 in the series now, but Bobby Cox says he's not worried about Pendleton being in a slump. He's capable of breaking out of it at a moment's notice with 3 or 4 hits. Sanders back on a close play. Bobby Cox says if Deion Sanders concentrated full-time on baseball, he'd get at 20 home runs, steal between 60 and 80 bases, and hit 300.
He hit 300 this year, and he had 8 home runs and only 306 at bats.
Sanders at first and nobody out in the 4th inning. No score in Game 3 of the World Series. First pitch to Pendleton, fouled back here.
That was close to a balk. He did not come to a stop delivering the ball home. That's one way that pitchers can hold runners at first base. You throw over there, and then you quick pitch home. You have to come to a full second stop when you bring your hands together.
Good throw to first, and Sanders is back head first. Sanders with the good lead, 1 foot on the artificial turf. He's not running. Time called. The pitch did not count. Pendleton asked for time and was granted time by Joe West, virtually as the pitch was on its way to the plate. Former Toronto manager Jimmy Williams, the third base coach for Atlanta, threw the signs for Pendleton and Sanders. Much shorter lead and a good play by Olerud on the ball in the dirt. Pendleton, base hit. Sanders had to hold up to see if Alomar would catch it. And he also had to do a dance to get out of the way of the throw back into the infield. First and second with nobody out for Atlanta as they threaten here in the 4th inning. Terry Pendleton with his second base hit of the World Series. David Justice, the batter. He struck out swinging, ending the first. He left Sanders at third. The Braves now hitting the Blue Jays 3-2. First and second with nobody out in the 4th. In a scoreless ball game. First pitch to Justice. Well hit to center field. Devon White racing back to the warning track. Great catch up against the wall. And the runners passed each other. Pendleton went by Sanders. He has already been called out. Now they have Sanders in a rundown with a chance for a triple play. Gruber did not get him. Sanders made it back to second. Gruber insisting to Bob Davidson that he made the tag, but the umpire does not agree, and they came within inches of a triple play. Pendleton was out. He went by Sanders thinking that White would not make the catch, and it's easy to understand why he would think that way. Look at that catch.
And here are the runners crossing right here. Pendleton passing Sanders, so he's out. Dion allowing him to go back to first. I thought that was nice. And then Dion tagging up and trying to go to third. And here's the attempted tag. Kelly Gruber said he got him on the foot, and it looked like he did from that angle.
He did get him on the foot.
What a bizarre play. My goodness. Kelly Gruber says I tagged him on the foot, and he may just have. Wow.
And again, the Blue Jay fans boo. They thought they were victimized by some bad calls in Game 2, particularly by home plate umpire Mike Riley.
Did Kelly Gruber tag Dion? It looked like he did on the right foot. And that would have been one of the most unusual triple plays I've ever heard about, had it happened.
Well, you can't argue with the position of the umpire, Bob Davidson. He had a perfect view of it.
Right.
Gruber doesn't say much to umpires ordinarily. Usually when he does, it's because he fully believes he's right. He certainly appeared to be.
A remarkable play by Devon White started this, and a diving stab with the glove ended it. And it looked like he tagged him on the right heel.
Well, the first angle was the best.
All angles show that he tagged him, it appears to me.
So now Sanders at second with 2 down. Lonnie Smith at the plate with a count of 2-1.
After Pendleton tagged, or after Pendleton passed Sanders at second base, Dion went back to second to tag up to go to third. I don't think Toronto knew that he passed him, because had they known that, they wouldn't have thrown the ball to first base.
Right, they didn't need to. Pendleton had already been called out by the umpires, as you saw on the replay. 2-2 the count. You hear the fans continuing to boo. Obviously, in a high-tech building such as this, there are television sets everywhere. So these fans, many of them, have seen the same replays that you saw. There's only been one triple play in postseason history. That was by Cleveland way back in 1920.
It was unassisted.
That is correct. And that's outside. The count is full as the crowd roars. No score. We're in the top of the 4th inning of Game 3 of the World Series. And what a tone this World Series is taking on. Couldn't ask for much more in the way of excitement than we had in Game 2. And we've already topped it with this play in Game 4. In Game 3 in the 4th inning. Smith strikes out, and that ends the inning. 5 strikeouts for Guzman. The inning highlighted by the great catch by Devon White. Welcome back to the SkyDome. The first pitch of the home half of the 4th, fouled on a play in right field by Roberto Alomar as he faces Steve Avery in a scoreless ball game. A memorable start to this first ever World Series game in Canada. Devon White with the catch that started the double play. If you're scoring, it's 8-4 as they doubled up Pendleton. And Kelly Kruger made the tag on the heel of Deion Sanders. But the triple play was not completed because Bob Davidson, the second base umpire, ruled Sanders safe going back into second. Alomar struck out his first time up. He was called out. He'll be followed by Carter and Winfield. Avery has allowed 2 hits without issuing a walk. He has struck out 3. And he's even with Alomar now at 2 balls and 2 strikes. To third and Pendleton. 1 out. At the conclusion of tonight's game, Tim McCarver and I will select the Chevrolet Most Valuable Player of the game. Chevrolet will donate $1,000 in the player's name to the Special Olympics. Now Joe Carter. Out on the fly ball to center field, his first time up. Well hit to left. Way back. That's the first ever World Series run in Canada.
Fastball on the outside part of the plate. Carter looking for it, it appeared. You see Berryhill sitting outside. It was outside. 1-0 Blue Jays. You saw Joe Carter hit an inside fastball against Tommy Glavine out in Atlanta, and tonight he takes the outside fastball out against Avery.
He can extend those arms and hammer that outside pitch. He did for his second home run of the series. The Blue Jays have now hit at least 1 home run in each of their 9 postseason games this year. And that is a record. They came into the night sharing the record with Baltimore and Milwaukee. 9 games in the postseason for Toronto. They've homered in all 9, a total of 13 home runs for the Jays in their series against Oakland and Atlanta. And 8 different Toronto players have hit a home run in postseason 1992. Winfield the pop-up, Lemke the catch, 2 down. We're in the 4th. And the Blue Jays lead Game 3 of the World Series 1-0. Now John Olerud, who struck out swinging his first time up. Back to the mound. Nice play by Avery. And that ends the inning. The Blue Jays are on the board on the home run by Joe Carter. After 4 innings in Game 3, Toronto 1 and Atlanta nothing.
When it comes to hard work, even major leaguers don't let up. Neither should you. Give school a major league effort.
A message from Major League Baseball and its players for the National Education Association.
Moments ago, as Joe Carter returned to his position in right field, he was greeted by a standing ovation for his home run that has given the Blue Jays a 1-0 lead as we go to the 5th inning here in Game 3 of the 1992 World Series. Juan Guzman looking in at Sid Bream. Then Jeff Blauser and Damon Berryhill. There's a base hit. Bream took the first pitch into center field for the 4th hit of the night for Atlanta.
Think of what might have been for the Atlanta Braves had Devon White not made that catch in center field. 3 out of the last 5 Braves have singled, and it was Devon White's catch against the wall that turned the near triple play into a double play. But the Braves are hitting the ball very, very hard off Guzman the last 2 innings. Here's that catch one more time. It's fun to watch.
White, a Gold Glove winner in center field. Blauser squared a bunt and took a strike. Jeff ordinarily the number 2 hitter in the Atlanta lineup, so he's accustomed to laying down the bunt to move a runner along.
I don't think here, though. Not with the bottom of the order. You have Berryhill and Lemke coming up. You're trailing by a run. I think that was just a show-me bunt right there. I think he's hitting.
Blauser struck out his first time up. Blauser 1 for his last 15 and 3 for his last 27. Bream is not on the run. No sign of a bunt that time, but it is a strike. Dan Morrison concurring with the home plate umpire Joe West that Blauser went around 0-2. That's the situation with Toronto leading 1-0 in the 5th inning. Fastball outside. Blauser wouldn't chase it. Juan Guzman trying to keep one string intact. The home team has never lost a World Series game played in a dome stadium. There have only been 8 of them, all of them at the Metrodome of the Minnesota Twins. So they're a perfect 8-0 in World Series play.
Oh, a terrific play by Pat Borders then. Whenever a ball bounces in front of the plate and the catcher comes up with it, then you know he's done his job. Well, that's a fine play right there. Perfect execution by Borders. You don't try and catch those balls. Ideally, you want it to hit the center of the chest protector and keep it in front of you, and that's what he did.
Bream is not moving. Blauser strikes out for the 2nd time. 1 out in the 5th inning, and that's the 5th strikeout of the night for Juan Guzman.
Because Juan Guzman throws so hard, he has few complete games. He has only 2 in 51 starts for his career, and he started 91 games in the minors and had only 5 complete games. Traded by the Dodgers in 1987 for Mike Sharperson.
What was thought to be a relatively minor trade, and yet in 1992, both Guzman and Sharperson wound up in the All-Star game. A 97-mile-an-hour pitch to get Blauser, the fastest pitch thrown by Guzman tonight. He has struck out 6 Atlanta Braves, including Damon Berryhill, his first time up. Berryhill went down swinging, leading off the 3rd. We're in the top of the 5th. The Blue Jays lead 1-0. Atlanta has Sid Bream at first with 1 out.
saw Berryhill only batting at 125. He's 1 for 8 in the series, but was that one ever a big one? That one was worth 3, wasn't it? Three-run homer in game 1 off Jack Morris.
The 0-1 pitch popped up out of play behind the Blue Jay dugout. Sometimes it doesn't take a lot of hits to make a big contribution to your team in postseason. 1 or 2 well-timed hits will keep you in everybody's memory bank for a long time to come. Kelly Gruber said, I only had 2 hits in the playoffs, but those were 2 big hits in helping my team win a game. That was in game 2 against Oakland. 0-2 on Berryhill. We mentioned that Guzman is from the Dominican Republic. His parents, Francisca and Daniel, are watching tonight in the Dominican Republic. They wanted to come, but being the thoughtful parents that they are, they thought it would be too much of a distraction to Juan Guzman, that he'd have to worry about rounding up tickets and entertaining his parents and family. His folks don't speak English, which would have caused another problem if they tried to get around, so they decided to stay home and watch their son on TV tonight. And they just watched him strike out Berryhill for the 2nd time. Back-to-back strikeouts for Guzman. He has spanned 7 through 4 2/3 innings.
After so many fastballs, it's almost unfair to have that pitch there. A backup slider on the outside part, and Berryhill knew it. See that rotating spin. Pitching coaches like the spin on the ball when the spin is about the size of a dime. When it's the size of a quarter, then it's not spinning properly. It's not tightly held enough. But that one, as you could see, was like a gyroscope coming up there. To throw the type of slider that Guzman throws, you have to have awfully strong forearms. Steve Carlton had them, and Guzman, for a right-hander, throws a similar slider that Steve Carlton threw. Very tightly wrapped.
Guzman working to Mark Lemke. That's on the corner for a strike. 1-1. Lemke bounced to the first baseman Olerud unassisted in the 3rd inning. The Braves trail 1-0. Bobby Cox has Sid Bream at first base with 2 outs. Bream started the inning with a single, but Blauser and Berryhill have fanned. And now the 1-1 to Lemke. It's low. 2 balls and a strike. Chopped to second. Alomar ends the inning. Halfway through game 3 of the World Series, the Blue Jays lead 1-0.
What is breakfast for your head?
It's your health with Dr. Bob Arnott.
The economy with Robert Colwich.
Your money with John Stair.
The movies with Gene Siskel.
Consumer news with Hattie Kaufman.
And the weather with Mark McEwen. Join Harry Smith and Paula Zahn on CBS This Morning.
It's breakfast for your head.
Virtual reality video games. Kid stuff? These doctors don't think so. It's a way to teach surgery from the inside out. Wow. The story tomorrow on the CBS Evening News.
51,000 plus on hand here at the SkyDome for game 3 of the World Series. The series tied at 1 win apiece. The Blue Jays leading tonight's game 3 1-0 on a home run last inning by Joe Carter. Candy Maldonado fouled the first pitch from Steve Avery away. And the second as well. Maldonado bounced into an inning-ending 5-4-3 double play in the second. He'll be followed by Kelly Gruber and Pat Borders. The 0-2 pitch. At the end of the Toronto dugout, left to right, Ed Sprague, Derek Bell, and Turner Ward. They have a number of rituals down there, including pounding of bats to try to spur on a rally. I think the least appealing of their rituals is the tobacco spitting contest that rages on. Tough to tell who's winning, and really, who would want to know who's winning? We don't know if they're going for volume or distance, or we'll have to find out. And Jim Kaat working on that one. Actually, that's a story for Pat O'Brien, I think. 2-2 the count as Avery works to Maldonado. Blew him away. Plenty of heat on that fastball. 1 out in the 5th. Join us Sunday for NFL action here on CBS Sports. Washington and Minnesota head our 1 o'clock lineup, while some of you will see Dallas and the Los Angeles Raiders at 4 o'clock. It all starts with the NFL today at 12:30 Eastern time, the last word before kickoff. And the Vikings, the most pleasant surprise in the NFL this year. Dennis Green has them at 5-1, and the Redskins returning to Minneapolis, where they beat Buffalo in the Super Bowl this year.
Vikings, of course, play their home games in the Metrodome in Minneapolis. That's where Atlanta played last year. And this ballpark here is twice as large at the center and the Metrodome. 31-story building would fit in the center of the SkyDome. Twice as large as the Metrodome. You could fit a Metrodome inside this edifice.
With room to spare. Gruber fouls it away. He is trying to end his 0-for-23 postseason drought. I mentioned that Kelly has 2 hits in the postseason. He had a 2-run homer and a double off Mike Moore in Game 2 of the championship series.
You can tell once again that Kelly Gruber has his game helmet on. A lot of hitters use pine tar on their glove, their left hand and their right hand, and they go to their hat, and Kelly Gruber considers it unlucky to wash it.
You can tell. Game or gamey?
Gamer and gamey.
He's aboard with the walk. The first thrown by Avery. In fact, that's the first walk thrown by either pitcher tonight. Rich Hacker, the third base coach for the Blue Jays, threw the signs for Gruber and Pat Borders. And the conference at the mound, Pendleton and Berryhill visited Steve Avery, who's making his 7th postseason start tonight. It seems like he's an old hand on the major league scene. And in fact, he won't be 23 years old until next April. And he was the youngest pitcher in the majors to make 15 or more starts this season. No pitcher as young as Avery has ever made this many postseason starts. Pat Borders lined a single to left in the 3rd. They pitch out. Gruber was not on the run. He is a threat to run. He swiped 7 during the regular season, despite a variety of nagging injuries. Borders looks at a strike. 1 ball and 1 strike. With 1 out, a runner at first in the bottom of the 5th. Toronto leads 1-0. Damon Berryhill looking into the Atlanta dugout for help. That's strike 2 right down the middle. Borders with his base hit his first time up, now 11 for 29 in the postseason. That's a .379 average, the highest for any player on either team. The 1-2 pitch. Tim, you could really see on that pitch why Avery has trouble with runners stealing against him. The very high leg kick, despite the presence of Kelly Gruber at first base.
High leg kick. We talked about power pitchers earlier, and all power pitchers have the high leg kick. That's where their power comes from. And Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach of the Braves, said that they don't want to teach Steve Avery the slide step to get the ball quicker to home yet because he's too young. Bobby Cox saying before the game that they'll teach him that eventually, but first things first.
Cox says they're going to teach him that in this offseason.
Bobby said you got to get to first.
That's right. The hitters have had a problem with that. Gruber's there now and not on the run as Borders spills one over the first base dugout.
This is the high leg kick we were talking about. That takes time. It's very powerful. But because of that, National League Steelers, base stealers, stole 42 bases against Steve this year. So Bobby Cox will correct that next spring.
Gruber is on the run. Borders strikes out. Berryhill does not attempt to throw.
Not only the high leg kick, Gruber guessed right, and he guessed the right pitch. Now, a curveball takes a lot longer to get home than a fastball. We mentioned earlier the problems Borders had throwing runners out. Look at Damon Berryhill. No chance. Gruber in there easily.
That's the first stolen base for Toronto in the World Series, and only the second steal allowed by the Braves in 10 postseason games. Manuel Lee, the hitter. Ball one up and in. Lee bounced to third his first time up. He's batting in the bottom of the fifth inning with the Blue Jays on top 1-0. Kelly Gruber at second with 2 outs. Avery watches Lee bounce it down to third. Pendleton throws him out. So the Blue Jays threaten but do not score, and we'll return to SkyDome after this word from your local station.
When two cops fight the drug gang, it tears one small town apart.
So you saw the shooter?
A chief pitted against his men.
Somebody give it to you, free?
A mother fighting for her son.
I just don't want to lose him.
A husband torn from his wife.
I'm going to do what I have to do.
Carol O'Connor, Howard Rollins in the Heat of the Night premieres after the World Series.
Just relax. Take a deep breath. The Knots Landing season premiere in 1 week.
This is CBS.
Watch Channel 10 News at 5:30, 6, and 11, where you're our focus.
The next 2 games of the World Series will be played here at the SkyDome in Toronto. Game 4 comes your way here on CBS tomorrow night, airtime 8 o'clock. Thursday's game also an 8 o'clock airtime. If games 6 and 7 are necessary, they'll be back in Atlanta Saturday and Sunday. 8:30 Saturday night, 8 o'clock Sunday night. The game 4 starting pitchers, it will be Tom Glavine officially for Atlanta and Jimmy Key for Toronto. Otis Nixon leads off against Juan Guzman. Braves batting in the 6th, trailing 1-0. They've managed 4 hits off Guzman. He has struck out 7 without issuing a walk. Nixon's 0 for 2 tonight. And in the hole. Actually, that pitch is called a ball. It appeared to be a fastball right down the middle. The crowd thought so as well. It's 1-1 on Otis. Deion Sanders on deck, and then Terry Pendleton. Alomar throws him out. Let's check in with Jim Kaat.
Sean and Tim, you've been talking about Juan Guzman's slider, and the difference between his slider and the ordinary slider, most pitchers turn and pull a little. Guzman gets over the ball so much more than most pitchers. That's why he has that down break on his as opposed to the lateral break. As you used to say when you hit Tim, it's nasty.
Tell that from up here, Kitty.
So you're still saying that, and you're well above the home plate umpire.
And don't have a bat in my hand either. Don't want one.
Now Deion Sanders. Well hit down the right field line toward the corner. That's a fair ball and off the wall and a hop. Sanders again hobbling, and he's just in ahead of the throw from the corner by Carter. And Dion's going to take a stroll. He was limping much more noticeably that time around the bases than he had been earlier.
If you caught our broadcast on Sunday nights, you found out that Deion Sanders has been playing the baseball season and the football season with a broken left foot. He has a bone in the outside part of his foot, and he gets around on the high fastball there. It does not appear to hurt him when he runs, but when he stops and walks, he limps on it.
You saw him hesitate around first and go into the hobble. And again near second. You have to give him a tremendous amount of credit. He started 4 of the last 43 games for Atlanta, has played very little baseball over the last couple of months, and here he is 3 for 3 in game 3 of the World Series.
Remarkable.
And in scoring position for Terry Pendleton, and he is certainly overdue to deliver a big hit for Atlanta. Tying run in scoring position. Pendleton sends one back to the screen. 0-1 on Terry, who's 1 for 2 tonight, a single in the 4th inning. And he was a part of that bizarre play when he passed Deion Sanders on the base paths near second base as Devon White made a great catch at the wall on a ball hit by David Justice. Pendleton out as part of the double play for passing Sanders, and Sanders barely made it back to second base to avoid the triple play. It appeared he was tagged out for the 3rd out, but Bob Davidson ruled him safe. Again, Pendleton had the best average in the majors during the regular season with runners in scoring position. He had 387. Guzman has given up 5 hits. The double by Sanders, the first extra base hit of the night for Atlanta. Now the 1-1 to Pendleton. Ground ball left side. Lee has to go to third. Safe at third is Sanders. That was Lee's only play. Pendleton was going to beat it to first base. So first and third with 1 down for Atlanta here in the 6th inning.
Excellent base running by Sanders. He had a good jump from second base. Pendleton hits it in the hole, and as Sean said, Manny Lee's only play was to third. You saw Sanders watching the ball. He thought Lee was going to go to first base. He slowed down, and as a result made what should have been an easy slide into third with no play. He made it close.
Yeah, it looked like Deion was hobbling a bit. Pendleton 2 for 3 tonight.
I think the Blue Jays are trying to determine whether they want to play the shift with Justice as the batter now. The infield was a little confused. They'll be in double play depth. And you may remember with runners at first and second in his last at bat, they were shifting on the right side of the infield. And that's what Cito Gaston wants to talk to Manuel Lee about. And Robbie Alomar. See, this is not a visit to the pitcher. It's a visit to the infielders, even though it does count as a trip to the mound. He's talked to everybody but Guzman. They're also talking about what to do with the ball for Pat Borders, whether to throw through, whether to hold the ball. I think they'll throw through if Pendleton tries to steal second base. You can't allow the potential go-ahead run to be on second base without trying to nail it.
The numbers don't favor Cito Gaston if he's hoping for a double play. Guzman induced only 7 ground ball double plays this year, and Justice only hit into 1. They do not have the shift on. Lee is shading up the middle, but not on the right field side of the second base bag. First and third with 1 out. Justice a swing and a miss. Justice struck out swinging in the first inning, and he hit into the bizarre double play on the great catch by Devon White at the wall in the 4th. The Braves trailing 1-0. They have the tying run at third and the go-ahead run at first. The 0-1 to Justice. Way outside. Good block by Borders, sliding to his left.
Justice grounded into only one double play all year, the toughest man in the National League to double. So unless he hits it hard right at an infielder, I think the play is to the plate. It's one of the luxuries that you have when you are playing on the artificial turf. The ball gets to you quickly.
Well hit. It nearly hit Pendleton. It goes through into right field to tie the ball game. Sanders in from third. It's 1-1.
Not only was Deion Sanders limping home, but Terry Pendleton was limping to second base. When he fouled a ball back on his last at-bat, he pulled something right above his right knee, it appeared. This line drive, of course, Pendleton has to jump out of the way of it. If he gets hit with a ball, the batter is out. Or I beg your pardon, the runner is out, and the batter is credited with a single.
Ball in the dirt, blocked by Borders. That keeps the runners at first and second. So the hit by Justice, the third consecutive hit for Atlanta. They're up to 7 hits now off Guzman, and they have the go-ahead run in scoring position. The RBI for Justice, his second of the World Series. Lonnie Smith at the plate. He has fanned twice. 1-1 the score in the top of the 6th. Smith has had a tough time catching up to that high fastball from Guzman all night long. Guzman to the plate. Another late swing by Smith. 1-2. The 1-2 pitch in the dirt. Again, Borders tested, and again he makes the play, this time shifting to his right.
That is the third block by Pat Borders tonight, and another tough slider executed perfectly. So he keeps the ball out in front of him. That chest protector is soft, and that in itself will deaden the ball. You can see right in the middle of Borders' chest protector, he's had a lot of balls hit in that spot.
Now the 2-2 pitch. Line to right. Carter started in, then put the brakes on to make the catch. 2 away. The runners return to their bases. Pendleton to second. Justice to first. Smith now 0 for 3. And the hitter Sid Bream. He's 1 for 2. He singled to center, leading off last inning. The Braves left him at first base as Blauser and Berryhill struck out, and Lemke bounced out to end the inning. Terry Pendleton, the runner at second. David Justice at first, with 2 down in the top of the 6th. Atlanta has scored a run in this inning to tie the game at 1. First pitch to Bream. A ball low. Bream, excellent in this situation during the regular season. But he's never had an RBI in the World Series. This is his 10th career World Series game. And he took a fastball for a strike, 1-1. $51,813 at the SkyDome for the first ever World Series game in Toronto. And the 1-1 pitch is low. 2 balls and a strike. The 97 miles per hour matches the fastest pitch of the night thrown by Guzman. Now the 2-1 offer. To the right side, Olerud flips to Guzman. That ends the inning. The Braves even the score with a run on 3 hits, and we go to the bottom of the 6th. The Braves won and the Blue Jays won.
For every home run hit in the series, Coke and Major League Baseball will give $5,000 to build and renovate youth baseball fields through the Coca-Cola Homers for America program.
And $5,000 heading to that program, courtesy of the home run tonight by Joe Carter. Devon White takes the first pitch of the 6th to deep center field. Nixon with room in front of the track, 1 out. Moments ago, as Deion Sanders took his position in left field, the limp was once again rather evident.
Trainer Dave Pursley tells us that there's really no time for that foot to heal because, as we explained the other night, he goes right from baseball season back to football, and then after February off, spring training begins in March.
Roberto Alomar took a breaking ball for a strike. He's 0 for 2, a struck out and bounced to third. So Alomar is now 1 for 10 in the series, and Devon White is 1 for 12.
Talked about the 1 and 2 hitters on our pregame comments, and the 2-hitter tonight for the Braves has scored the only run, Deion Sanders.
Alomar's woes continue. He looked bad in striking out at that pitch that appeared to be outside. It's the 6th strikeout of the night for Avery. Joe Carter strides to the plate in the 4th inning. He produced the first run in World Series play in Canada with a home run well back into the auxiliary press box in left field.
And when you hit one that hard and that far in your next at bat, look for something else on the first pitch. This will not be a fastball away for a strike. See how I protect myself? It's called segmented sentence.
That's right. And it comes in handy from time to time. Carter's 1 for 2 tonight to hit the home run. That's the last hit surrendered by Steve Avery. 2 balls and a strike on Carter. Avery's only given up 3 hits. Singles to Winfield in the 2nd and Borders in the 3rd. The home run by Carter in the 4th, the other hit. The Blue Jays have had only 1 base runner since the walk to Gruber last inning. The only walk thrown tonight by Avery, who's back even with Carter at 2 and 2.
So he throws a 2-0 changeup and now a 2-1 curveball. Pitching is establishing and reestablishing.
Off the end of the bat, and Nixon will take care of it in shallow left center. 1, 2, 3 go the Jays. And we go to the 7th with Atlanta and Toronto tied at 1.
How do you feel?
I feel great.
You feel terrible. Do you want to make some money?
Okay.
You feel terrible.
The New York Times calls Night in the City a lively, gripping foray into the urban landscape.
No can do. What's no can do? What's that, a Chinese appetizer?
Not since Raging Bull has there been such a performance.
This is it, man.
Gritty, intense, powerhouse performances from De Niro and Lange.
You want to kill me? I don't give a damn.
I'll bring you home, baby.
Night in the City, rated R. Exclusive New York engagement now playing. Starts Friday everywhere.
Welcome back to the SkyDome. It's 1-1 as we head to the 7th inning, and as we might have expected with Guzman and Avery on the mound, outstanding pitching tonight.
I think Galen Cisco is going to keep an eye on Juan Guzman. We mentioned that he's only had 2 complete games in 51 starts over the last 2 years. I think Guzman is susceptible to being gotten to this inning more than Avery is. We'll find out.
Juan will face the bottom 3rd of the order, Blauser, Berryhill, and Lemke here in the 7th inning. They got to him for the only Atlanta run of the night last inning on 3 straight hits. A double by Sanders, then singles by Pendleton and Justice. Blauser has struck out twice. Fastball was close, but called the ball. 2-1. Gruber even with the bag at third. Olerud well back of the bag at first. This part of the batting order combined 0 for 6 tonight for the Braves, including 4 strikeouts, 2 by Blauser, 2 by Berryhill. Guzman has struck out 7 in all tonight without issuing a walk. He's behind Blauser 3-1. Jeff swings away at 3-1 and fouled it straight back. In on the hands. We've talked a lot about the Atlanta young pitchers and their reputations established early for performing in big games. Well, Juan Guzman is starting to earn that reputation. Came in 3-0 lifetime in 3 postseason starts. He defeated Minnesota in Game 2 of the 1991 championship series and Oakland twice in the playoffs this year. Olerud knocked down the check swing one hopper. Guzman won the race to the base. It was a close play, but the play is 3-1 for the first out of the 7th.
Check swing and a short hop for John Olerud off the heel, and watch how quickly Guzman gets to first base. Nice play, first base. Nice play by Juan Guzman. Off the heel of the glove, and Guzman just beats Blauser to the bag.
Now Damon Berryhill, who has whiffed twice tonight. He isn't losing anything in the way of velocity inning to inning. He's thrown at least one 97-mile-per-hour pitch in every inning except the third when he dropped all the way down to 96.
That line looked like Olympic scoring, didn't it?
And no judges' mistakes to cause controversy that time. One and one the count on Berryhill with Lemke on deck. 1 out, bases empty. 7th inning, 1-1 the score. 1-2 now on the Atlanta catcher.
Berryhill just shaking his head. He cannot catch up to that high fastball, and he has company.
In on the hands and a little pop-up, not very high in the air. Gruber and Borders collide, and Gruber made the catch. They both had to come sprinting after it because it didn't get very high in the air. 2 down, literally, in terms of outs and players here in the 7th.
You could see Pat Borders is vulnerable right there. He is grimacing. It was not a hard collision, but Gruber hitting Borders up around the left side of the face. Looked like he hit him in the left side of the chin. But Pat appears to be all right.
The number 9 hitter, Mark Lemke, at the plate. And there's the little pop-up. Manuel Lee says, "I'll take it." And he does. 7th inning stretch in Toronto. 1-1 the score.
New, improved Head and Shoulders. Now it works even better to prevent flakes. Presents this edition of 7th Inning Stretch. Do you know who was the only player to homer in each of his first 2 World Series at-bats? Think about it, and we'll be back with the answer after this. The only player to homer in each of his first 2 World Series at-bats was Gene Tennis. 7th Inning Stretch is presented by new improved Head and Shoulders.
Let's all enjoy a moment from the 1969 series.
Here's a fly ball to right center field, deep in right center. Dempsey with A.G. A.G. dives, and he makes the catch.
That was Game 3 in 1969. Tommy Agee with the catch against the Baltimore Orioles.
A young right-hander had come in to pitch to Paul Blair. His name, Nolan Ryan. Heard that name, haven't you?
I have indeed. We continue to hear it, and will again next year.
And again, and again, and again.
And the same can be said for the man at the plate, Dave Winfield. He had a chopping infield hit in the second. He flied to right in the fourth. He's batting in a 1-1 game in the bottom of the seventh. Steve Avery has retired 5 in a row. The Blue Jays haven't had a hit since the home run by Carter with 1 out in the fourth. Winfield, Olerud, and Maldonado coming up. The 1-1 from Avery. Fouled away first base side. We talk about Deion Sanders as a 2-sport athlete. Dave Winfield had a chance to be a 3-sport athlete. He was drafted in baseball, football, and basketball. Out of the University of Minnesota. A football tight end, a 6'6" forward in basketball. And he said it was always his dream as a little boy to play baseball. And he has played himself toward the Hall of Fame. It seems a foregone conclusion now as he continues to pile up milestone after milestone.
Leading all active players in home runs, and you noticed how well he does here at the SkyDome. Not only Winfield, but the Blue Jays. This year, Toronto with a 55-29 record here at SkyDome. That includes their 3 League Championship Series victories.
Check swing. And a count of 3-2.
I guess they won 2 here in the League Championship Series. Right.
They were 53-28 here during the regular season. That was the best home record in baseball. Struck him out on the 3-2 pitch. Avery kept it low and away for the first out of the inning. 7 strikeouts tonight for Steve Avery.
Once again, the eyes of Avery. Tough pitch to Winfield on a 3-2 count. That's usually a pitch that a hitter sees with the count 0-2 or running 1-2. Both pitchers locked in.
Olerud looked at a breaking ball for ball 1. John has struck out and bounced back to the mound. He's still looking for his first hit in World Series competition. Avery working quickly, and that's a strike. 1-1. 2-1.
That's the most dangerous pitch to a left-handed batter. A left-hander's curveball. If you go to the breaking ball with a left-hander up there, you should use the slider. That depends on the pitcher, but a left-hander's curveball to a left-handed hitter has too much of a tendency to hang in the strike zone. There's no bite to it. You go to the breaking ball, the slider, the harder pitch is usually the best pitch.
Fastball down the middle. Another full count. Avery went to 3-2 with Winfield and struck him out. Now he's at 3-2 with Olerud with 1 out and the bases empty in the 7th. And Olerud strikes out. A called 3rd strike. Second time he has fanned tonight. And Avery has 8 Ks to his credit through 6 2/3 innings.
And it was a 3-2 breaking ball. I believe it was a slider, but it just locks Olerud. And you can see the look on his face.
Candy Maldonado. Ooh, I'm talking about how Guzman is still throwing hard, and that pitch was evidence that Avery is too. Maldonado has bounced into a 5-4-3 double play and struck out tonight. He's 0 for 6 in his 2 appearances in the World Series. He's actually been in all 3 games, 2 of them starts and 1 in a pinch hitting capacity. In the air to center field. Nixon drifts toward right. And the Blue Jays go in order. On to the 8th. 1-1 the score.
Toyota proudly presents All-Around Champions. The most impressive thing about Mark Grace is not his powerful swing or golden glove, but his immense smile. When he devotes his time to hospital-bound youngsters who need a lift, there's no question as to why he's become known as Amazing Grace. Toyota salutes all-around champion Mark Grace by contributing $1,000 to the Children's Memorial Hospital of Chicago.
This game summary is sponsored by AT&T.
The only run in this game for Toronto came in the 4th inning, a home run by Joe Carter, his second of the World Series, to give the Blue Jays a 1-0 lead. The Braves tied it in the 6th with 3 straight hits, a double by Deion Sanders, a single by Terry Pendleton, and David Justice single to knock in Sanders. Deion is 3 for 3 tonight. With 2 singles and a double, he has stolen a base and scored the only Atlanta run. He'll bat second here in the 8th inning against Juan Guzman. 1-1 the score. Top of the order for the Braves. Otis Nixon leads off. And he looked at a fastball high for ball 1. Otis 0 for 3 tonight. And both leadoff men, White and Nixon, continuing to have their difficulties here in the World Series. Otis now 1 for 11. That was the 100th pitch of the night thrown by Juan Guzman.
I would be taking right here if you're Otis Nixon. Give Guzman a chance to get wild. Trying to fight your way to first base any way you can.
He is taking all the way, and it's a strike.
It's obviously what you try to do all the time, but you don't get there by taking often. But leadoff hitters, you'll see that strategy employed. He may be taking again with a count 3 balls and a strike. If you take 2-0, you should take 3-1, especially if you're the type of hitter that Otis Nixon is.
Here is the 3-1 pitch. He takes all the way. It's a strike. The count is full. The right-hander is Dwayne Ward. The lefty David Wells in the Toronto bullpen. John Sullivan, the bullpen coach, in the middle. Full count on the leadoff hitter in the 8th inning, Otis Nixon. Batting in a 1-1 game in Game 3 of the World Series. The payoff pitch. Slapped to third through the glove of Gruber, and Nixon is aboard. Nixon hit it hard, but it hit Gruber in the glove. He couldn't squeeze it. And the lead man is on for Atlanta in the 8th.
I guess the first thing you'd have to ask yourself is, why is Kelly Gruber this shallow with the count 3-2 to Nixon? You could afford to play back a step or two. He's even with the bag. And I think Kelly could afford to play back a step or two because it was 2 strikes. And you don't know whether he makes the catch anyway. But that ball, when he was right on top of Nixon, got to him in a hurry and threw him in a hurry.
Blue Jays looking for a bunt from Sanders. Nixon draws the throw.
Well, it'd be interesting. I mean, here's a guy who's 3 for 3 tonight. Do you bunt with Sanders, or do you allow him to swing away? You got Nixon, who can steal a base at first base. I don't think I'd waste Sanders in this situation. He's too hot a hitter.
And the Blue Jays haven't been able to throw anybody out in the postseason.
And you've got a left-handed batter up there. It's tougher for a catcher to see the runner at first. It's a lot tougher to throw with a left-handed hitter up there because you are blocked out. You need help from the bench. Don't know what Bobby Cox is going to do, but this calls for a swinging situation, or let Nixon steal second and then bunt him to third.
Nixon aboard. They've scored an error on Gruber. The first error for the team. Sanders swings away and fouls it past Pat Corrales in the first base coach's box. That's what primetime has done in the World Series. He has been a primetime performer indeed, with 4 for 6 at the plate, 3 stolen bases, 2 runs scored for Bobby Cox, who took a chance in playing a guy who hasn't played much baseball over the last month and a half, particularly when Bobby Cox has a player of Ron Gant's ability who is sitting out while Deion plays.
Interesting conversation there between Terry Pendleton and Deion Sanders. Maybe Bobby Cox has put the bunt on. He gave him 1 shot to swing away, and we'll see if he sacrifices here. Gruber in at third.
Nixon at first with nobody out. 8th inning, 1-1 the score. He is on the move. They pitch out. Borders with the throw. Not in time. It was high. Lee had to go into the air for it. And the Braves do indeed forego the sacrifice and take the high percentage play in this postseason, the stolen base.
You saw the look by Nixon in the head first slide, and Nixon in there easily, and the Braves in a terrific scoring opportunity with nobody out, and the count in Sanders' favor. He might still be bunting, and now you bunt Nixon to third. That was a pitch out that Nixon ran on there.
Otis is 5 for 5 in stolen bases in the postseason. Atlanta's a perfect 14 for 14 as a team. They do not go to the bunt, and Sanders pops it up. So now it's as if they sacrificed. 1 out and the runner at second base. Deion upset with himself as he returns to the dugout. The pop-up was taken by the shortstop, Lee.
Oh, you can't quibble with that strategy. If he was swinging with a runner at first base, a runner at second, and nobody out, he still has a chance for the ground ball to the right side to move him over. And he is the only player in this game with 3 hits. 3 for 4 now.
Borders to the mound. He'll be joined there by pitching coach Galen Cisco. And Steve Avery looks ahead to the bottom of the 8th inning when the Blue Jays have the bottom third of their order due up. Gruber, Borders, and Lee. Two more stolen bases tonight for Atlanta, meaning that the Toronto Blue Jays have allowed 25 stolen bases in this postseason. In just 8+ games, 6 games against Oakland, 2 games plus 8 innings tonight, and there could be 4 more games in this series after tonight. They're going to shatter the record by a long shot.
Pat Borders has only caught 2, but you can't put all the blame on Borders. The pitching staff has to help him, and we talked a lot about David Cohn, Jack Morris, and Juan Guzman, all power pitchers, all right-handers, very difficult to catch. So I think the pitching staff and Borders shares the load, or share the load, in not throwing out the runners.
Terry Pendleton 2 for 3 tonight. The go-ahead run at second with 1 out. And the fastball up and in on Pendleton. He has 2 singles. A single in each of his last 2 at-bats. Otis Nixon, the runner at second with excellent speed. Broken bat, chopper to second. Again, Pendleton, the leading hitter in the majors this year with men in scoring position, fails to come up with a hit with a runner in scoring position. But he does move Nixon to third. He's there with 2 outs.
Now what are you going to do? You're going to walk David Justice? I would imagine with Lonnie Smith on deck having a tough time getting around on the fastball, that walking Justice here would make sense.
And Cito Gaston agrees. They'll walk Justice, take their chances with Smith. They almost threw the ball at the backstop to Guzman. Lonnie Smith on deck, who's 0 for 3 tonight, and has struck out twice. This is the first walk of the night issued by Guzman, and it's an intentional walk.
You can hear the uneasiness here. Guzman has thrown 2 high fastballs wide. Borders had to jump for both of them. You could hear the fans kind of saying, wait a minute, wait just 1 second.
That's what Cito was saying as well.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many problems there are over the course of a Major League Baseball season on intentional walks.
The game that Toronto clinched here, we saw Robbie Alomar steal third on an intentional walk.
That's right, against the Tigers.
Yeah.
Justice at first base. And Nixon at third with 2 down, and Lonnie Smith coming up.
And the mind games continue. What does Pat Borders do if Justice tries to steal? I don't think he'll throw through this time, not with Nixon on third.
Smith right on top of the plate, waits as Justice draws a throw. 1-1 the score. We're in the top of the 8th inning of Game 3 of the World Series. The first pitch to Smith. Fouled out of play. Another late swing to Lonnie against Guzman tonight. Guzman looking in at Smith, who has had his problems tonight, but Bobby Cox calls him stretch drive because he usually delivers in the clutch. And he does again with a base hit into left field. Otis Nixon scores, and the Braves lead. Now the throw to third, and Justice is a dead duck. The big hit by Lonnie Smith gives the Atlanta Braves their first lead of the night as we go to the bottom of the 8th. The Braves lead for the first time tonight, 2-1 as we go to the bottom of the 8th, and Kelly Gruber fouls the first pitch of the inning from Steve Avery for strike 1. Gruber's 0 for 1 tonight. Still hitless in his last 23 postseason at-bats. He walked and stole second in the 5th inning. He is the last Toronto hitter to reach base. As he left the mound following the top of the 8th, Juan Guzman demonstrating his disgust. It was an unearned run as a result of the error charged to Kelly Gruber.
I think what may have upset Juan was that he was blowing the fastball by Smith all night. He gave in to him with a slider, and Smith was able to pull it through the hole for a base hit.
Action for the first time tonight in the Atlanta bullpen. Mike Stanton is the lefty. Mark Wohlers the right-hander. Gruber, then Borders and Lee, the bottom third of the order in the bottom of the 8th. Breaking ball wouldn't come down for Avery. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Cito Gaston has watched Steve Avery throw 100 pitches. This is 101. The Jays have not had a hit since the home run by Carter with 1 out in the 4th. Gruber, the only base runner since then, with his walk in the 5th. And he's back to a full count, 3-2. A walk to Gruber in the 5th, the only walk thrown by Avery tonight. Payoff pitch. Well hit down the left field line. Sanders watching it go. Home run, Kelly Gruber. What a way to end the longest drought within a single postseason in history. A game-tying home run. This one is knotted at 2.
Avery forced to come in with a fastball. The interesting thing, it's almost in the identical spot that Joe Carter earlier hit the home run. Up and away.
And that's where the ball went. Up and away.
And that's the first hit since Joe Carter's home run.
Now Borders with a deep drive to center field. Nixon on the run to the warning track. He leaps and makes the catch. Wohlers to the deepest part of the ballpark. Nixon the catch for the first out of the 8th inning.
Nixon had more room than he thought. A jump wasn't necessary, but he decided to make sure.
Wohlers now 1 for 3. Kelly Gruber atoning for the error that led to the unearned run in the top of the inning with his second home run of this postseason, ending an 0 for 23 drought. 2-2 the score. Manuel Lee the batter, and ball 1 in the dirt. Cito Gaston said, "I don't care if Kelly Gruber gets a hit as long as he continues to play great defense." He didn't in the top of the inning, so then he came through with the bat. 1-1 on Lee. He's 0 for 2 tonight against Steve Avery, who has only allowed 4 hits. Lee has twice bounced to third. Devon White is on deck. Pendleton couldn't get it. Blauser did and throws him out. Nice play by the shortstop for the second out of the 8th inning. Devon White 0 for 3 tonight. 1 for 12 in the World Series. He's taking the first pitch all the way, and it's a strike. And the ritual at the end of the dugout, pounding for a hit. It's already worked once in this inning. Galen Cisco on the phone to the Toronto bullpen. Bottom part of the order coming up in the 9th inning for Atlanta. Bream, Blauser, and Berryhill. Hitters 6, 7, and 8. Late swing, 1-2. Avery had retired 8 in a row before the Gruber homer. He's retired 2 in a row since, and he's ahead of White 1 ball and 2 strikes. Struck him out. White couldn't catch up to it. That ends the inning, but the home run by Kelly Gruber has tied the game at 2 as we go to the 9th in Game 3.
You may remember in the top of the 8th inning when Otis Nixon scored the go-ahead run, David Justice is thrown out at third base easily by Candy Maldonado. David running to the bag. He was not running through the bag. Of course, you can't do that if the left fielder comes up with the ball and throws behind you. He could nail you. But that could turn out to be a very big play, depending on what Sid Bream would have done.
That ended the top of the 8th with only the 1 run in. Justice would have been in scoring position with 2 outs for Bream. Now Dwayne Ward on the pitch after 8 innings from Juan Guzman. Ward making his second appearance. He was the winning pitcher in Game 2 thanks to the heroics of Ed Sprague. Sid Bream greets him and takes a strike. Bream 1 for 3 tonight. And the Toronto relievers have been outstanding in this World Series. They have held the Braves hitless in a combined 6 2/3 innings. That's bidding to be the first hit off a reliever, and it is. Nice play by White to get it on a hop. But Sid Bream is aboard, representing the go-ahead run with nobody out in the 9th inning. Bream is 2 for 4. And there will be a runner for Sid Bream. It's going to be Brian Hunter. This copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of Major League Baseball and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Brian Hunter the runner for Bream.
Well, Jeff Blauser, the best bunter on the Atlanta team, says Bobby Cox. We'll see if he's bunting here, but you do have the bottom of the order following Blauser.
Almost a guaranteed bunt situation. Hunter, not a speed burner there at first. He runs a bit better than Bream. Brian Hunter only stole 1 base during the regular season. Blauser sacrificed 7 times in the regular season. Hunter at first with nobody out in the top of the 9th. 2-2 the score.
Of course, Pat Borders has been having problems throwing. You could attempt to hit and run in this situation. The count in favor of Blauser. Little chance of a pitch out.
Blauser is 0 for 3 tonight. He has struck out twice. He takes a strike. Turned to bunt. Took the bat back, but it caught the outside corner. 1-1. To bunt. This time it's a ball. No, a strike. Blauser must have left the bat out there too long because the pitch was low and away.
Well, we'll see. He didn't bunt around on it. No. Joe West called it a strike.
He clearly appealed down to first.
He clearly took the bat back, though. I think it was on the call, but a delayed call by Joe West, the home plate umpire.
As has become vogue among umpires of late. Again, he turns to bunt with 2 strikes. And it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Jimmy Williams with no signs for Blauser. Jeff still looking at him. And now here come the signs. Apparently Williams was waiting to get them from the dugout.
Yeah, the problem with that 2-strike bunt is because you don't want to foul it off, you have a tendency to bunt it to the fat part of the infield, right back to the pitcher.
Now the runner takes off. It's a check swing. The throw. Got him. They appeal down to first. Double play. It's a strikeout as well. First they got the out at second, and what a big time for Pat Borders to find the range and throwing somebody out. Then they appealed down to first, and Dan Morrison got out the cash register to ring up Jeff Blauser.
Blauser clearly goes around, and the throw by Borders is perfect, and the tag slapped on Hunter by Manuel Lee, who wants the appeal. You said the delayed call has come in or become in vogue. Well, there was another delayed call in favor of the Blue Jays, and clearly he went around.
And they're warning the Atlanta dugout now. A helmet came flying out. Bobby Cox, I don't think threw the helmet. One of his players did, but Bobby's jawing back at Joe West. Well, somebody's been tossed, and here comes Cox. It was Bobby Cox who threw the helmet out there.
Yep. And I think Joe West, when he looked over there, saw Lonnie Smith standing up. And we don't know yet whether he kicked out Bobby Cox or Lonnie Smith. Why would Joe West be looking at the dugout? Obviously, a helmet was thrown out there. But just allow the bat boy to pick up the helmet and bring it back. Unless profanity was used.
Well, we've seen 2 things in this inning that are unsavory about the umps. One, the lackadaisical attitude that they occasionally take. We mentioned the very slow strike call when fans throughout the world are hanging on every pitch in the game.
Here's the check swing again by Blauser. He went around. The throw at second base got Hunter. Hunter didn't complain, but the reaction by Bobby Cox is vigorous.
You wonder if he was trying to throw it on the field or bounce it off that top step. It looked like he might have been aiming at the ledge and missed.
Yeah.
He was not ejected, or was he? He's going to go down the runway now. Lonnie Smith was the first who charged onto the field. And then the indication came that somebody was ejected, and then Cox came out after him.
Maybe
but
it was
Lonnie's still in the dugout.
Maybe it was his helmet.
That's what they have the bat boy for. Well, what a night this has been. Bobby Cox apparently has been ejected. And you could see Smith was on his way out first after the indication of an ejection. I think Lonnie might have thought it was Smith who had been thrown out, but it was Cox who was tossed. And Smith is still in the game. Berryhill at the plate. So it's a double play. Usually it's strike him out and throw him out. In this case, it was throw him out and then strike him out. What are we going to see next?
I think you're right, though, Sean. I think Bobby wanted to hit the top step of the helmet, and it trickled out, and Joe West assumed, I guess rightly so, that he was throwing the helmet out of the dugout.
A strike.
Well, let's see if Berryhill goes around. Yeah, that was even farther than Jeff Blauser.
Most of the fans on their feet as Ward delivers the 1-2 pitch in the dirt.
You know, Bobby Cox may have been upset because the play didn't work. He got the strikeout and then the throw him out, and Bobby appeared to want to hit the top step of the dugout.
And he might have been upset about the late call on the pitch on the second strike to Blauser. The bunt try that looked to be low and away. West pondered it a while and then came up with the arm. Berryhill blown away. That ends the inning. Bottom of the ninth upcoming. Alomar, Carter, and Winfield do. 2-2 the score.
Friday, the girls are going on a manhunt.
Stop that waving. He's cute. Great. Why don't we all just lift up our skirts and say howdy?
A wild new designing women. Then, meet Bob's new assistant.
Ba here is just giving me some pointers.
Who?
Ba. Short for Bob.
All new Bob. Bob, Friday.
Strike one. Strike two. Strike three.
The Hat Squad.
Don't you just love baseball?
Wednesdays.
Well, a couple of nights ago, we saw Jane Fonda praying for an Atlanta rally. The fans telling Jane the Braves don't have a prayer tonight as she sits along her husband, Braves owner Ted Turner. Bottom of the ninth inning, 2-2 the score. Roberto Alomar with a slicing fly ball that drifts toward the stands and into the front row. Good effort by Justice, and he was late in arriving. Brian Hunter remains in the game at first base. Alomar 0 for 3 tonight. 1 for 11 in the series. The top of the order, White and Alomar combined 0 for 7. Through the middle, a base hit. And the winning run is aboard with nobody out in the bottom of the ninth. There is action in the Atlanta bullpen. They were throwing before the inning started. Mike Stanton, the lefty. Mark Wohlers, the right-hander.
Here's something to consider. He's going to the right-hander, but Alomar is a very fast runner. So you're taking out the left-hander with a better chance to pick the runner off and bringing in the hard-throwing Wohlers. This is a very interesting situation, and you're liable to see Alomar take advantage of it.
Well, they are taking out Avery, who had the biggest problem in the National League this year with stolen bases against him. Interesting, too, that former Toronto manager Jimmy Williams is now making these decisions, probably with Bobby Cox somewhere nearby. Mark Wohlers, the new pitcher. We're back in a moment.
Someday, these movies will be on cable. Someday, these movies will be in video stores. Someday, these movies will be in theaters around the world. But next month, these movies will only be on CBS.
Will this be the latest in a growing list of ninth-inning dramatic finishes in this 1992 postseason? Steve Avery will not be around for the finish. He's out after 115 pitches, 8 innings plus 1 batter, having given way to Mark Wohlers, who inherits Alomar at first base and nobody out. Alomar draws a throw.
And the Blue Jay hitters better turn it up a notch. Mark Wohlers clocked at 100 miles an hour during the National League Championship Series against Pittsburgh.
Carter hit the home run in the 4th inning off Avery. The Braves do not anticipate a bunt from the number 3 hitter in the Toronto lineup. Pendleton well back of the bag at third. Alomar, a great stolen base threat. He had 49 during the regular season.
And 5 straight in postseason play. And I think that's where the percentages are, allowing Carter to take and giving Alomar a chance to steal a base. Joe Carter has sacrificed 1 time this year and 10 times during his career.
Alomar bluffs. They pitch out. Berryhill down to first, and back head first is Alomar.
There's the pitch out, the fake break by Alomar, and diving back to the outside of the bag.
One and 0 on Carter. We're in the bottom of the 9th. 2-2 the score. Alomar at first with nobody out. He is not running. Wohlers outside with ball 2. Dave Winfield will follow Joe Carter. Alomar on the run. Berryhill's throw, not in time. The winning run is in scoring position with nobody out.
A tremendous jump by Alomar. The look, and he slides into second easily. And I would imagine with the count 3 balls and no strikes that they will walk Joe Carter. Berryhill had no chance. That fastball taking his glove back, trying to recover. Alomar with the jump, no chance.
8 for 8 in postseason in his career, 6 for 6 this year. He was 5 for 5 against Oakland in the playoffs, and that's his first in the World Series and his first attempt. They are going to issue the 4th ball to Joe Carter to walk him. Set up first and second with nobody out, and set up the double play possibility with Winfield coming up.
Like Joe Carter, Dave Winfield has bunted once this year in a sacrifice situation. Dave Winfield is a good bunter. I remember his San Diego days. But if you bunt, then Olaru's the batter, and Jimmy Williams could elect to walk him, bring the outfield and infield in, and pitch to Maldonado. Or you could bring Mike Stanton in the game to pitch to Olaru. That's what Bobby Cox did in Game 2.
Roberto Alomar, the important runner at second. He represents the winning run. Joe Carter at first. Nobody out. Bottom of the 9th, 2-2 the score. Winfield is 1 for 3 tonight. He had a chopping infield hit his first time up. He squares to bunt, and it's a good bunt down to first. Hunter to Lemke for the out. It's a sacrifice 3-4. And now the winning run is 90 feet away with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th.
Look at Brian Hunter playing behind Carter at first base. The Braves were not expecting this. Hunter was behind the runner. You can see Hunter behind Carter at first base. This is not what is considered normally a good bunt. It was too hard, but because Hunter was behind the runner, it was effective.
A good bunt given the situation. Jimmy Williams on his way to the mound. Tim laid out the scenarios for you. They could decide to walk Olerud and load the bases or pitch to him, and it appears that they will pitch to him since he has summoned the left-hander, Mike Stanton. Two-two the score with runners at second and third and one out in the bottom of the ninth. We'll be back in just a moment. 2-2 the score with one out and two men in scoring position in the bottom of the ninth. And the Blue Jays have summoned Game 2 hero Ed Sprague. His pinch hit two-run homer off Jeff Reardon in the top of the ninth inning gave the Blue Jays a 5-4 win.
Terry Pendleton, the captain of the Braves, meeting with the outfielders and reminding them that they must come in. Nixon hurt him. And David Justice hurt him, but Deion Sanders is still too deep in left field. And you might say, well, it's an intentional walk. What if he hits it?
They will not give Sprague a chance to be the hero tonight.
Yes,
they will intentionally walk him and take their chances with Candy Maldonado. And that's ball four. They do have the right-handed option of Jeff Reardon, who was victimized by the Sprague homer, to take the loss. Jimmy Williams is on his way to the mound. No indication yet of a pitching change by Williams. But here comes Reardon through the bullpen door. A chance for redemption for Jeff Reardon or another disappointing night. We'll be back in just a moment.
To all those who have made CBS America's most watched network, we say thank you. To all those who have made CBS America's most honored network, we say thank you. And to all those who are still searching for a network to call home, we say, you're welcome.
Obviously, Tim, both managers were thinking through all of the likely scenarios, and the Braves understood with their maneuvering that this was what they would wind up with. Jeff Reardon against Candy Maldonado. Undoubtedly, the Braves aware that Maldonado was only 2 for 13 lifetime against Reardon with 7 strikeouts. But Reardon is not the same pitcher that he was for much of his career.
That's right, and Mark Wohlers is. So if you leave Wohlers in the game instead of bringing in Stanton, you walk. That was one of the scenarios we talked about earlier. Then you end up walking Olerud, and you have Wohlers pitching to Maldonado. And Wohlers is a strikeout pitcher if he can throw strikes. On the other hand, I think it's pretty clear that Bobby Cox, Jimmy Williams, the Atlanta organization, got Reardon to close the games, and they're going to put him out there again. Remember now, the outfielders have to be in. A long sacrifice fly, and this game's over. Deion Sanders is too deep right now. He is too deep. You look at Otis Nixon, David Justice, they're at the proper distance, and now they're bringing Sanders in. You've got to be in a position where you can throw the runner out, and Deion Sanders, even from where he is now, I don't think can do that.
First pitch to Maldonado, swung on and missed for strike one. The infield in behind Reardon. They have to come to the plate to cut down the winning run. Alomar, the runner at third. Carter's at second, Sprague at first. 2-2 the score with one out in the bottom of the ninth. Reardon jumps ahead of him quickly, 0-2. Reardon, after the disappointment of Game 2, said, "I just hope that I get another chance to get back out there soon and help my team win the game." He's come into a very difficult spot. And Maldonado takes an 0-2 pitch to deep center to win the ball game. On an 0-2 pitch, he gave him something that Maldonado could drive, and he drove it, driving in Alomar with the winning run. Toronto takes Game 3, 3-2. Welcome to Canada World Series.
Breaking ball on the outside part, a hanger. Kelly Gruber ending Game 2 with the chop, and now Alomar chops across home plate.
Consecutive, heartbreaking, gut-wrenching losses for the Atlanta Braves in the 9th inning. The Blue Jays lead the World Series 2-1. The final score in Game 3, Toronto 3 and Atlanta 2. We'll join Pat O'Brien and Jim Kaat after this.
Welcome back to SkyDome, where the celebration continues, and I gather throughout the streets of Toronto will continue throughout the evening as Canada wins its first World Series. Toronto beating Atlanta tonight 3-2, and the Chevrolet player of the game is Juan Guzman of Toronto. Chevrolet will donate $1,000 in his behalf to the Special Olympics, and so Atlanta's last 4 World Series losses have happened in the final inning, and I'm sure they'll be thinking about that. Think about this one, too. Atlanta is 0 for 5 on the road in World Series play, and as a matter of fact, 0 for Canada as we speak tonight here from Toronto. Let's go down to Kitty Kaat, who's with Robbie Alomar. Kitty?
Thanks, Pat. You mentioned Juan Guzman, the player of the game. All kinds of heroes, really. Devon White's catch, Pat Borders blocking balls. This guy is always in the middle of things. Bobby Alomar, your thoughts count 2-0, and you decide to steal.
Well, I just let him through a few pitches so I can see his move to first base. He was kind of slow for me, so I knew I can get a good jump and steal second base, and that's where I went for it.
Now, Kelly Gruber started a little tradition the other night. You guys are kind of chopping your way back at these Atlanta Braves in front of the loudest crowd I've ever heard at SkyDome.
Well, when we go there, they do the same thing. So when they come here, we're going to try to do the same thing. You know, we're going to try to tomahawk them, and so far we've been okay.
You've played behind Juan Guzman all year, and when you sit and watch this guy, appears to be as unhittable a pitcher as there is in baseball. Braves had some good swings at him.
Well, yeah, I think so. I would like to have it in my side and the other side. Guzman, he threw real hard. I think so he got a great arm, and he pitched good for us today. And you know, I hope that he continues to pitch good and good for us.
All right, and Bobby Alomar, in all probability, will continue to do well for the Toronto Blue Jays. They go up 2-1 in the World Series. Let's go back to Pat O'Brien.
I think I agree with that, Kitty Kaat, and we'll be back from SkyDome, still partying here after a commercial and a word from your local station. Stay with us.
My guys, Bradshaw and Gumbo. No hype, no attitude, just a lot of stuff about football. The NFL Today on CBS. I am a big fan.
The 1992 World Series has all the makings of another fall classic with Game 4 tomorrow night. Once again, the final score of Game 3, Toronto 3, Atlanta 2 in a dramatic finish. And so the Blue Jays take a 2-1 lead in this series. We will have Game 4 tomorrow night beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern Time in Baseball 92.
CBS Sports coverage of Game 3 of the 1992 World Series is brought to you by the people at Nike, who encourage you to just do it. UPS for reliable on-time delivery throughout Europe and around the world. Trust UPS. And by Toyota. Toyota, I love what you do for me.
You've been watching the 1992 World Series on CBS Sports, and in celebration, maybe they're saying, "Oh, Canada," but I'll guarantee you somebody in there is saying, "Oh, Candy." The Blue Jays have won the first World Series game in Canada. We'll see you tomorrow night for Game 4 of the Fall Classic. Good night, everybody.
These unofficial moments in our national pastime are brought to you by the official airline of Major League Baseball, United. Come fly the friendly skies.
When you look for champions, you look to CBS Sports.
This is CBS.
Next, from Channel 10 News.
Thousands of angry parents tonight take on Cardinal Bevilacqua, the first day of battle in their fight to keep 8 Catholic schools open.
The mudslinging is getting downright nasty in the battle for Pennsylvania Senate, and both sides say it may get worse.
And the Magic is back. Magic Johnson returns to the Forum as a Laker. The story's next on the Channel 10 News.
Did we forget the Magic?